ist antidotischer Starts now.
MSNBC is a crack house for intravenous idiocy. This podcast is the common sense rehab. And now your leftist detox counselor, Brock Lawley.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brock Lawley. This is the Atheist Antidote Podcast. I do enjoy having an audience, and that is you, and I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you a story. It's the story of my kin, if you will, my, genealogical tree, or whatever the case may be. And I'm not going to go back too far, but I have a grandfather who grew up in the coal mines of northern Pennsylvania. Every day this guy would get up and set traps before his school. And trap, God only knows what kind of creature crawling the earth. So that he could then turn around and sell the pelts to help earn money for the family. Then he would go to school. I think he went to school until 8th, 9th grade or something like that. Then he went to war. That was the first war. And I believe that was the Korean War. Then, as an older man, just barely old enough to go again, he goes back to war again. And the second time, he gets shrapnel all down his back. His friend carries him to safety, so he lives through it. He comes back. He has 4 children in a small little middle of nowhere, you don't want to live there town in northern Pennsylvania. And he works in coal mines, in grocery stores. And even though he's making almost nothing, literally almost nothing, he takes other people's kids in. One of his children was my father. My father meets my fast-talking, city-slicker mother from New York. So a coal miner's son and a girl from New York, from the tenements of New York, somehow find each other. Amazing in and of itself, and they get married. And I have a bunch of siblings. And my dad, he ends up going to college. He's in the Army, and then he goes to college on the GI Bill. He ends up finding estimator work in construction companies all his life. But because the construction business is very fickle, he's in and out of work by way of the same company. But my father was an incredibly hardworking man, so never more than like a month and he'd get more work, but it was probably devastating for him. Never made a ton of money. And then as I got older, this guy started getting, part-time jobs and never worked less than 3 jobs. Ended up going, getting a CNA license and working with the elderly on top of his other jobs. I mean, it was just incredible. My mother raises all of us, and then while she's raising us, she takes these part-time jobs. My mother, again, has an associate's degree, very bright woman, talented woman. Once the kids are all out of school, she goes and gets some job at like child care. I don't want to get into the details of it, but rises to the top, as of course she would. Parents just working themselves to death. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would pull shifts making ice cream cones and stuff, so that we would have a little extra money for some fashionable sneaker, the attitude of which I deeply regret now. And then, this is the kicker, my parents, on top of all their biological children, and I can assure you there's many of us, they end up taking in foster kids on top of that. Something like 18 to 20 foster kids from when I was young until I left the house. I mean, just insane. Now, the only reason I'm saying all this, obviously I'm proud of them. The reason I'm saying all this is because That's the degree of work. That's the attitude that Americans had. Service to one another. Hard work. Not entitlement. Not somebody else should do it. Not I'm too good for this. I challenge you, go down, try to get a burger at the local place. The person will screw up your order and not know how to make change. No pride in what anybody's doing, if they are even willing to do it. These things matter, these attitudes that people have. And the reason that they have these attitudes is because they become cultural. They see it. They see it praised. They see these, I'm too good for this, or I shouldn't have to do this, or somebody else should just take care of this. It saturates our society, into the pores of our society. Your grandfather, your grandmother would have never known anything like this. It's not how they looked at their country. It's not how they looked at their neighbors. It's not how they looked at their community. It's important to remind ourselves of these things, because when we look around and we see society fraying like an old couch, at the seams, it's not all these big conversations that we all have. I mean, those things are important sometimes, and you should know what's going on, but that's not really the problem. It's in the details. It's in the mentality and the mindset of people. I see it in myself. I see it in my friends. I see it in my neighbors. I see it in my society. We're slipping away from that. There's honor. There is honor in work, in taking pride in what you do. And it doesn't really matter what you do. Do you know how many people, do you know how many generations got up every day and did something that they did not in any way, shape, or form want to do? But they took pride in it, and they did it well. America, this is the final quarter. This is it. And we have to turn this around. And it's in these little things. It's in these cracks. It's in these crevices. That's how the conversation needs to be framed. The old need to know the young again, and they need to talk to the young again, and they need to share these stories, and they need to say, this is what life actually takes. This is what life's actually about. This is what character looks like. This is what work looks like. This is what community looks like. This is what fatherhood looks like. Thank you for listening to the Atheist Antidote Show.
You are listening to the Atheist Antidote Show.
Approche les productions.